We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Tesam and Beis Meseches Yoma. This is Yoma Daf 49b. The Gemara here is bringing a proof from a brisa in terms of the question whether the Kohen Gadol needs to take the handfuls a second time in the Kodesh Kadashim on Yom Kippur. The brisa says, Keitzad hu osa, what does the Kohen Gadol do? Ochez es habazoch beroshatz ba'osav, he holds the spoon which has the incense in it with the tips of his fingers. V'yesh omer b'shinav, some people say he holds it with his teeth. U'ma'ale begodlo at shemagas lebein atzila yodav, and then he raises it with his thumbs until it reaches his elbows. V'chozer u'machzir l'so chafnav, and then he takes the incense and puts it back into his hands. V'tzover, and then he puts it in a heap. Kedei sheyehe ashna shoa lovo, so that the smoke should be delayed in rising. V'yesh omer mefazer, some people say he scatters the ketoris, the incense, kedei sheyehe ashana memaheres lovo, so that the smoke comes quickly. V'zuhi avoda kasha sheva mikdash, and this is the difficult avoda in the Beis HaMikdash. The Gemara says, Zuhi v'sulo, is this the difficult one? There are no others. Va'ika malika, what about malika, which is when you bring karbanos, which are birds, in the Beis HaMikdash, you use the Kohen uses the fingernail in order to shech the bird. Va'ika kamitza, and there's also kamitza, which is taking the fistful from a karban mincha. Those are also difficult avodos. So the Gemara says, rather, ela zuhi avoda kasha me avodos kashos sheva mikdash. This is one of the difficult avodos in the Beis HaMikdash. In any case, what do you see from this brisa? You see from this brisa that again he's taking the ketoris in his hands. He's taking the handfuls. Shema mina. You see from this chofein v'chozer v'chofen shema mina. You see from this that he takes the handful before he enters the Kodesh Kadashim, and then again he does it when he's in the Kodesh Kadashim. And the Gemara says, indeed, this brisa is a proof. And Rashi over here explains, Keitzad hu osa, what does the Kohen Gadol do in the Kodesh Kadashim? Chafina shniya shebifnim. This refers to the second time he's taking the ketoris in his hands inside the Kodesh Kadashim. Min habazoch l'so chafnaf, from the spoon which is holding the ketoris, and he's putting it into his hands. Ochez es rosh habazoch barasha etzba'osav. What he does is as follows: he holds the spoon part, the part where the ketoris is, with his fingers. La'achar sheiniach es hamachta bartz. This is after he's already put the coal pan on the ground. V'yoda shel bazach klape bein zroosav. Now the handle of the spoon is actually facing his arms, facing towards his body. U'ma'ale b'shnei godlov, and so now he's lifting it with his thumbs. U'moshech es yada begodlov, and he's drawing it closer with his thumbs. Letzad gufa ma'atzmad, he's making it come a little closer to his body. At shemagia rosh yod levein atzila yodav, until the handle of the spoon reaches between his elbows. V'rosh habazach magia legova pas yado, and now the spoon part of this spoon where the ketoris is, that's right by the palms of his hands. V'chozer machzira derech tzida, now he tilts it sideways l'so chafnav, into the palms of his hand. V'tzovra ala gecholim, and then he's going to put it in a pile on top of the coals. That is the procedure the Kohen Gadol uses in the Kodesh Kadashim. And the Gemara continues, they have the following question. Shachad v'meis, let's say he shechs the bull, the Kohen Gadol, and then he dies. Can someone else bring in that blood of the bull, or do you need to do a new shchita? Do we say bepar v'afilu b'damo shel par? He enters with the bull, but he could even be with the blood of the bull, meaning even with the blood from the bull of a different Kohen Gadol. Maybe it has to be his own par. It can't just be with the blood of the bull of the first Kohen Gadol. So the Gemara says it's a machlokas amoraim. Rabbi Chanina omer bepar v'lo b'damo shel par. Rabbi Chanina says he has to bring a par. He can't bring the blood of a par. He's got to do the shchita again. Reish Lakish omer bepar v'afilo b'damo shel par. Reish Lakish says you can bring the par. You can even bring the blood of the par, meaning you can use the same blood. Rabbi Ami omer bepar v'lo b'damo shel par. Rabbi Ami says with the bull, not with the blood of the bull. Rabbi Yitzchak omer bepar v'afilo b'damo shel par. Rabbi Yitzchak says with the bull and even with the blood of the bull. So you see again, it's a machlokas amoraim. And the Gemara continues, Eisvei Rabbi Ami l'Rabbi Yitzchak nafcha. Rabbi Ami asks Rabbi Yitzchak nafcha the following question. Nimnin umoshchin yedeyan mimenu. When it comes to Karban Pesach, so this is a question from a different Karban. From Karban Pesach, it says you're allowed to be appointed over a particular animal for Karban Pesach. You're allowed to withdraw from a particular animal for Karban Pesach, because they used to have the Karban Pesach in groups. So you would register with a specific Karban Pesach. So you're allowed to do that ad sheyishchad, until the time of shchita. Once the time of shchita comes, it's no longer the time to be nimnin or moshchin yedeyan. You can't start registering or withdrawing at that point in time. And so he asks, V'im Isa, if it's really true that the blood of the carbon is the same as the carbon itself, meaning, let's say in the case of Yom Kippur, you're allowed to use the blood from the power of the previous Kohen Gadol, so here also, once it's shechted, it should still be fine to register or to withdraw. Ad sheyizrok mi boile. You should really have all the way until the times of the Zrika. Why does it go by the Shechita? Seems like the Shechita over here is the deadline. And so the Gemara says, no, Shani Hasam, it's different over there by Carbon Pesach. You can't compare Carbon Pesach to the power of Yom Kippur. Tichsiv mihiyos miseh, because the language of the pasuk is mihiyos miseh, but we darshan michiyusa deseh, from the life of the lamb, from the life of the sheep. In other words, while the animal is alive, that's when it's time to register or withdraw your position from that particular Carbon Pesach. After the animal is shechted, it's too late. That would not necessarily be true when it comes to the power of Yom Kippur. There, after the first Kohen Gadol shechts the animal, it's still possible for the second Kohen Gadol to use the blood. And Rashi over here says, Nimnin ala Pesach misharotz limano, someone who wants to register can register. Umoshech yadav mimeno, somebody who wants to withdraw. Misharotz limoshech, whoever wants to do that. Ad sheyishcha, you do that until Shechita. That's the deadline. V'yimisa de la'achar Shechita nami korinam be'al haseh. Now, if it's still called al haseh even after Shechita, if that's what we're saying also over here on Yom Kippur, so ad sheyizrok mi boile, you should have until the Zrika. That should be the deadline. The Gemara says no, because the pasuk says v'yim yima tabayis imbo menuyin lehimoit v'limshoch es yedayim. We understand that pasuk to mean if those who are registered want to withdraw, mihiyos miseh means ba'od shehavayoso kayemis. While it's alive, yismatu, then they withdraw. V'lo mishayishcha, not after the time of Shechita. And the Gemara now tries another proof. Mesiv Mar Zutra. Mar Zutra asks the following question: Ein podin lo be'ega v'lo b'chaya v'lo b'shchuta v'lo b'treifa v'lo b'kilayim v'lo b'koi. This is talking about when you have a firstborn chamor, a firstborn donkey. It's called Peter Chamor. You would redeem it with a seh, with a lamb. So it says over here, you're not allowed to redeem it with a calf. You can't redeem it with a wild animal. You can't redeem it with a shechted animal. You can't redeem it with a treifa. That's an animal that's going to die within 12 months. It has a mortal wound. You can't redeem it with an animal that is kilayim. Rashi says here, de'ez v'rochel. You combine a goat and a sheep. V'afagav de mishnei tzedadav hu seh. Even though both sides, it's considered a seh. An ez is considered a seh. A rochel is considered a seh. You're not allowed to do that either. And it can't be a koi. A koi is an animal that has both the qualities of a chaya and a domesticated animal. It has to be a seh. So the question is, why can't it be a seh shchuta? Again, if it's still considered a seh after it is shechted, similar to the par on Yom Kippur, if it's still considered to be the par after shechita, the same thing should be true over here. You should be able to redeem a peter chamor with a seh shchuta. The Gemara says, no, Shani Hasam, it's different over there. The Yolef seh semi Pesach. Again, we learn out from Korban Pesach, it's a Gezeira Shav, seh. Just like on Korban Pesach, it's got to be alive when you register. So too over here, when you redeem, it's got to be alive. The Gemara says, if we're learning from Korban Pesach, if over there by Korban Pesach, it has to be a male, it can't have a blemish, it has to be a year old. Afkan, the same thing should be true here. Zachar tamu ben shana. Why don't we apply all the rules? Has to be male, has to have no blemish, has to be a year old. Gemara says, Talmud Lomer, no, because the pasuk says tifta riba. It says tifta, which is an inclusion, and means to say, no, it doesn't have to have all those requirements. Gemara says, tifta riba afilu kulu nami. Well, if you're going to do a riboy and include, so then we should say here also, even when it comes to this issue of the fact that it has to be alive and can't be shechted, let's just say include everything. Even if it's already shechted, we should include a lot of these other things that are not allowed in this particular brisa. So the Gemara says, no, if you're going to say that, then what's the word seh coming for? The word seh is coming for some kind of exclusion, and the word tifta is coming for some kind of inclusion. And so the idea is you don't need to worry about the requirements of Zachar, Tamu, Ben Shana, but you do need to worry about these other requirements in the Brisa. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Amud Aleph.